I have built a fully functional blog with the Laravel 10 and Tailwind CSS. The blog has admin panel from which you can manage content of your website. Here's how I did it. Install and set up Laravel with CURL and Docker. Install Filament PHP as an admin template. Integrate free blog template in Laravel. Query posts and output on the website with Pagination. Create and use text widgets to manage any content on the website. Add and use meta fields for search engine optimization. Let's immediately have a look at the demo of the project. On the homepage, we output latest posts. The post has image, title, description, and the tags. We also have pagination. We can go to the next pages if we want. When you open the post in your page, you're going to see the post image, categories, title, and the whole description of the post. And right here, we also have next and previous buttons. And based on that, you can navigate between the next or previous posts. On the right side, we see all categories, and also how many posts there are in the specific category. In the navigation, we have the home page, top 3 categories, and about us page. If we open URL localhost/admin and then enter username and password, we are in the admin panel. Right here, we can create categories, modify or delete. We can also update posts and text widgets. Text widgets are just key value pairs where we can output certain things on the website. Like, for example, the header text is outputted using text widgets, and also this about us section is outputted using text widgets. If we open the post section and click the very first post, right here we can change the title, and based on the title, Slug is automatically generated. We can change the image, assign or remove categories, and of course adjust the description of the post. And finally, we can specify meta title and description, mark this post as active or not, and specify publish date. If the post is not active or publish date is not specified, or if the publish date is in the future, the post will not appear on the website. I want to give away my Laravel e-commerce course. There are 2 things required to participate in this giveaway. You must be subscribed to the channel, and you must leave a comment down below under this video and use hashtag #TheCodeHolic in your comment. I will choose 10 random people as winners and contact them and give my Laravel e-commerce course for free. I'm going to also announce the winners on my Twitter. If you want, you can follow me on Twitter, but it is not actually mandatory. All right. Thank you very much for watching this video so far. I really appreciate every single viewer of this video. And now let's start building the project. Now, let's start building our project. This particular project, I'm going to develop fully on Docker. If you don't know what is Docker or how to set up it on your operating system, first I recommend to check the Docker tutorials. I will try to use Docker more and more on this channel when building the projects, because I think Docker is an essential tool nowadays for every full stack developer or even backend developer. So Docker makes things very, very easy and very, very safe. Okay, now we're going to use in this project Filament PHP, which is a toolkit for Laravel artisans. What is tool? It's a Tailwind, Alpine.js, Laravel, and Livewire. That's pretty awesome kit in my opinion. Right here you can check the admin panel demo as well, but we're going to actually install this in our Laravel 10 project and configure it and create admin panel with this toolkit. If you want to see the final version of the source code, you can check this on my GitHub, the CodeHolic/Laravel 10 blog. And finally, we're going to use the following template. That's a very, very minimalistic blog template. We're going to have only categories and a listing of the blogs and then inner page of the blog. We aren't going to have authentication or authorization in the system. Users would just be able to browse the blog website and just have a look at the articles and read or filter by category. Okay, so this is the overview. Now we can already start building our project. I'm going to close, actually, let's leave this because we're going to need this. I'm going to close my GitHub, and we will need this also because we're going to check the documentation for the Filament PHP from time to time. Now, let's open laravel.com and go to the documentation, and we're going to set up the project with the Docker, as I mentioned. So I'm going to click Getting Started on Windows, scroll down below. Right here we have the following command. We need to run this in our Linux terminal. Okay, again, if you are Mac OS or Linux user, you just need to run this in your terminal. Probably you will already have CURL command available. If not, then you just need to install CURL. On Windows, when you set up WSL2 with a Linux operating system, in my tutorial I set up with Ubuntu, then you're good to go. You will have CURL right there. Okay, now let's open Ubuntu. Here it is. And I'm gonna go inside www folder, and I'm gonna call, well, actually we need to paste this CURL command right here. Right click, and let's give it proper name. Example app is not the proper name. We're gonna call this Laravel 10 new. Laravel 10 blog dash new. Okay, because I already have Laravel 10 blog, so I'm going to call this Laravel 10 blog new. Let's hit the enter. This will take a lot of time. Basically, if you are running this very first time on your operating system, it will download a lot of things. It will clone the Laravel project locally, and then it will also download the Docker images and set them up and execute them. Okay, so I'm going to pause the recording and get back when this is done. It downloaded all the images, and at this stage we have to provide our operating system root password. I'm going to provide my root password for Ubuntu. Hit the enter, and here it is. So it successfully installed our project, and we need to navigate into the folder and then execute vendor bin sail up. Okay, so let's navigate into Laravel 10 blog dash new, and then well, actually I can execute this vendor bin sail up from here, but first I'm going to open this in my editor or IDE. I'm going to use PHP Storm, and basically let's type explorer.exe and dot. So I'm basically trying to open right now the current folder with the Windows Explorer. Here it was opened on my second screen. This is it. And I'm going to go inside www. Here I have all the projects, and this is it. So Laravel 10 blog new, right click on this and open folder as PHP Storm project. Okay, so it's going to open in a second. If it asks you whether you want to trust that folder and project, you just need to click trust it. And here it is. So the project was opened, and from now on, I'm not going to use this Ubuntu terminal. Instead, I'm going to use PHP Storm's integrated terminal. And we have to start the project using sail. So now it's indexing. It will take a couple of seconds, but we can actually already start the project. We don't need to wait. Vendor bin sail up. Okay, so sail is basically a containerization mechanism built on top of the Docker. It's specially created for Laravel, and it makes working with Docker very easy. Okay, we just run sail up. I'm going to open second terminal, and now we're going to go inside the container, inside the main Laravel container, and then every artisan command needs to be run from that container. All right, so we're going to execute vendor bin sail bash, and now we are inside that container. And now here we have PHP latest version, PHP 8.2, and we have artisan command and everything right here. So we are in the HTML folder, which has all the files of the Laravel. Okay, so this HTML is mapped to the current directory. So far, so good. And we have this application up and running right here. Now, let's install Filament PHP. Let's go in the filamentphp.com and scroll down below. I want to find the documentation page. Right here, we see the instruction, how we're going to include that in the admin panel, an example how that actually looks like. And in my opinion, this looks amazing. And let's go in the documentation right here. So down below, you can also find other packages, form builder and table builder, but we're going to also explore them inside the admin panel documentation, which actually includes other packages as well. So here's the documentation. And let's click on the installation because the requirements are there. We have the latest version of PHP because we are doing this on Docker. We have everything latest, like the latest version of Laravel, PHP, and MySQL as well. Okay, It's amazing. I really love working with Docker because you don't really care what version of PHP you have on your operating system when you are developing on Docker. You don't even need to have PHP installed locally on your operating system, which is, in my opinion, amazing. Okay, let's open now PHP Store, and we're going to run all the commands as I mentioned from here. So installation, very easy. Very first step is to require Filament PHP. So I'm going to copy that and paste right here, hit the enter. It's going to install it. Then we're going to open Composer JSON and put this in the post update CMD. So I'm just going to copy that, and let's open Composer JSON and let's search for post update CMD. By the way the Filament PHP was installed, I'm going to collapse this terminal and open whenever I need that. Okay, oops, we don't need double quotations. Okay, we need it like this. Okay, Filament PHP was fully installed. Let's check the documentation again, and we have added this in the post update CMD as well. And now we need to create new Filament user. Before we do this, if we open now localhost/admin, that's going to open Filament PHP login page. Okay, but at the moment we don't have any user, so we won't be able to log in. Click right here. We don't even have the users table. That's interesting. We need to run migrations. Let's open again terminal and let's execute PHP artisan migrate. Hit the enter. Okay, so far so good. Now if we just click right here, the user doesn't exist. Okay, now let's execute PHP artisan make filament -user. Hit the enter. Let's provide the name. Let's provide email. Hit the enter. Okay, right here I'm going to type yes, but for some reason it shows an error. Okay, so now the user is already created, and if I hit sign in with the user and password, I'm inside the Filament admin panel. Okay, now we can start working and developing from here. But first, I think we need to generate migrations and models. Before we generate migrations and models, let's create storage link, because we're gonna upload images and we will need storage to be properly linked. I'm gonna execute PHP artisan storage : link. Hit the enter, and the link has been created. Now let's create two main models. One will be article, so PHP not article but category. PHP artisan make model category, and I'm going to specify -m as well because I will need migration for this as well. Let's hit the enter. It was generated, and the second will be post model with its migration. It was generated as well, and I will also need category post, which will be junction table between posts and categories, because one category will belong to multiple posts, and one post might have multiple categories. Posts and categories will have many-to-many relationship. I'm going to execute PHP artisan make model category post. Okay, and the migration was created. Migration was created. Okay, so we have that. And now I think we just need to open the migration files and just write them. So let's go in the database, migrations, and create a categories table. Here it is. Okay, so what fields do we need right here? For categories, I'm going to make it very simple, and I will just add two columns. Both of them will be string. One will be title. Let's give it large length, and the second will be Slug. Okay, as easy as that. Now let's open second, which is post table. This is the main table, so we will need much more fields right here. Let's define table. We will need string, which will be title with the same length. We will need slug. We will need thumbnail as well, which will be the main image for the post. And we can make thumbnail as nullable. It's not actually required. We will need body, which should be long text, and body needs to be required, so we just remove this nullable. We will also need one Boolean column, which should be active, and we will need date-time column, date time, which should be published at when the article, when the post should be published and become available on the website. And probably the last one will be the foreign key to the user. So that should be foreign ID 4. We have to specify user model right here, class, and the field name will be user ID. Later in this course, we're going to also add meta fields for search engine optimization to posts table. SEO is key for every website. You want your website to be discovered by Google, especially your blog website. You want your posts to be found whenever people search for something. That's why you should try to do your best and implement best SEO on your website. Speaking about SEO, if you want to know how search engines work, check Introduction to Search Engines course at brilliant.org, who is kindly sponsoring this video. Brilliant.org is the best way to learn your desired topics interactively. The Search Engines course at brilliant.org will give you an excellent understanding how search engines work, how indices are implemented, or how to implement your own search. They have courses around math, computer science, algorithm fundamentals, data science, neural networks, and much more. Their lessons are super engaging and interactive. I love their algorithm fundamentals course. That's a great introduction to very popular and useful algorithms such as binary search or sorting of arrays. In this course, you will also learn what is big O notation, which is to measure the time complexity of your code. To try everything, Brilliant.org offers 30 days free trial. Visit brilliant.org/thecodeholic or click the link in the video description. First 200 users will get 20% off on their annual subscription. The price is very affordable, so I really recommend to check brilliant.org/thecodeholic and start learning interactively today. Okay, so we have that generated, and I think we need to create also a junction table. So let's open now, create category posts. This should be called in a singular form because that is how it is recommended on the Laravel. Actually, now I'm going to open Laravel documentation page because I always say that whenever you create projects, you should have the documentation always open next to you, and you should always try to stick with the documentation because in this case, you will constantly checking the documentation, learning constantly, as well as preserving best practices, because in the documentation you will often find highlighted section for some best practices. Okay, now let's search for many-to-many. Right here, many-to-many relationships. Here we have that table structure, and this is exactly what I was talking about. So we have users, roles, and role user. Okay, so role user table is in a singular form. Okay, and here's also an example of the modal structure and everything. So we need to call our table category post, and we will need foreign IDs to categories as well as to posts. So table foreign ID, that should be category ID. It references on ID on table categories. Okay, and we have to specify as well on delete to be cascade. Whenever category is deleted, I want the category post records to be deleted as well. Okay, and then we will need post ID here that references ID on table posts, and on delete we need cascade as well. Whenever post is deleted, that junction table records should also be deleted. Okay, so we have migrations ready, and now let's execute PHP artisan migrate. Hit the enter. Okay, we probably have some kind of error. published at now. Okay, so first was successfully run, second was failed. Let's check what mistake I have. Date times, that should be date time, it should not be date times. Okay, let's clear the console and execute, and here we go. So that was actually successfully migrated. Now we have tables created, and now let's open category.php. So I want to open category model, and I'm gonna add right here fillable. So we have title and slug, and we're gonna add this inside fillable. Let's copy this, and now let's open post.php model. Paste this right here. So we have a title, slug, we will need thumbnail, everything, basically every column. So I'm going to open now post table and copy those, including user ID, and maybe I'm going to delete this, paste everything, create multi-cursor, and do like this. Here we go. So inside fillable, I have all the post fields. Okay, and I'm going to define also relations from category to post and vice versa. And inside post, we also need relation to users. So let's create a public function user. We are going to return this belongs to user. Is that app models user? Yes, it is. Okay, so this belongs to user, and let's define the return type as well. So that is the relations belong to, and I generally don't like so long namespaces inside the return type, so I'm gonna just move this up. So we will have use right here. Okay, and now let's define categories. So post has categories. We're gonna return this belongs to many. And here I'm going to specify category class. Okay, and let's specify return type here as well. Okay, so post belongs to many categories. And we need to do this inverse inside categories. So I'm going to go in the categories. So let's create right here posts function, return this this belongs to many post, like this. Okay, and let's specify return type as well. Okay, so we have our models and migrations, I think, fully ready. Okay, now let me close everything, and I'm going to open our browser, open the website. Let's move this as the very first tab, and we're going to generate CRUD for categories and for posts, and those CRUDs are called resources. If we go in the Filament PHP, scroll down below right here after the user generated, right here we have the section link to the section building resources, or on the left side we have this resources section and getting started. Okay, so we need to create resource, and when we create resource, it generates the following files, resource and pages as well for create, edit, and list. We can also generate a view page for each resource. Well, actually, I think best will be if I generate and then explore that. So I'm going to execute php artisan make filament dash resource. Let's specify category, but I'm not going to hit enter. So if we have a look in the Filament documentation, we can generate two types of resources. One is normal resource, and second is simple resource. When we generate simple resource, it doesn't have dedicated pages for create and update. Instead, it uses modals. So categories is more like a simple resource. We don't need dedicated pages for category view or edit. It can be just modal because we have only one field, title, and the slug is automatically generated from the title. Okay, so for categories, we need simple. for posts, we need full version. But if we want to generate forms and tables as well, then we need to install Doctrine Debug package, which will read the schema, and based on the schema, it will generate those form fields and tables as well. Okay, that's pretty interesting. So let's actually first include Doctrine Debug if that's not included in Composer.json, and by default I think it's not included. So let's just execute Composer require Doctrine Debug. Because we just need this for development only, we have to specify --dev right here. That's an old error, don't pay attention to that. Okay, so here it was installed, and now let's execute the following command, but first for categories. I'm going to specify right here category, and we're going to specify as well --simple flag and --generate. Okay, --generate will create form and table components as well. So let's hit the enter, and now let's check admin panel. Reload the page, and it automatically detected and used that categories right here. Okay, so if I click the categories, we don't have any categories at the moment, but we have full CRUD functionality. I'm going to click new category and call this test, for example. Well, Slug is not at the moment automatically generated. This is something we need to take care of. But if I just click create, I have the validation error. I just type test right here as well and click create. Okay, and we see the record is edit. We can click edit, change, we can click delete. Okay, and this is fully functional CRUD already, which is amazing, just executing a single line. Let's do the same thing now for posts, but we don't want simple, we want full version, and we have to specify, instead of simple, let's specify view as well, because we want dedicated view page as well for the post. Okay, so let's hit the enter. So the post resource was generated, and if I just reload the page, posts are available right here. New post, and we have all the fields like title, slug, thumbnail, body, and everything is right here. Okay, and we have the user, which is at the moment drop down, but we don't need this right here because we're gonna assign authorized authenticated users. Okay, so now let's check what has been actually generated. Go in the app, let's collapse everything, go in the app, Filament, and right here we have resources. And two main resources, category resource and post resource. And there are also folders with the same name for pages. For simple, we have manage categories, which is responsible. This one is responsible for managing the categories. And we have dedicated pages, create, edit, list, and view. All right. Mostly we are going to work inside resources classes. Okay, so now let's open category resource, and we're gonna have a look. So we have two fields right here, title and slug. They are text inputs, both of them are required, and they also have max length right here. And down below we have the table, title, slug, create, updated at those fields, and we have actions as well, edit and delete, and we have bulk actions, which is delete. Okay, that's pretty awesome. Now let's have a look in the post resource. So we have much more fields right here, title, slug, all of them, not all of them, but most of them are text fields. This one is toggle, it's actually switch, and the Doctrine Debug detected that that was a boolean, and it generated switch, the Filament generated switch for that. And we have datetime picker as well. Right here we can pick the exact time when we want this post to be published on the website, and we have select, which has relationship to the user, and right here we specify which column I want to be displayed right here. That's pretty configurable and really awesome, the Filament PHP, and it's also pretty popular. If you check their GitHub, you will find like a few thousand stars, I think 5,000 stars right there. It's pretty good, and that's why it has so many stars. Right here, I changed this field into email just to demonstrate that we can change the relationship column name And just like this, now there's email available. But as I mentioned, we don't need this user ID right here, so we can completely remove that. But before I clean up this a little bit, I want to first implement generating slugs from the title, which is pretty interesting. So right here we have the columns, and down below we have these actions. For posts, we have only view and edit actions. By the way, let's add right here delete action as well. And we have bulk delete action as well. So now if I go in the posts, and if I just create new test post, let's fill on the required fields. Okay, click create. It was created. Whenever it is created, we still stay on the same page. This is something which is configurable, so we can do that if we don't like. And here's the post, and we just added delete action right here by adding the following line. The delete button is available. If we just remove that line, we won't see that delete button. If we want to delete the post, we need to go in the edit and then click delete. But I think it's really convenient to have this delete right here, especially it doesn't delete automatically, but it asks this nice confirmation. Okay, I think we don't need that, so we can delete this. Now let's open category resource and go under title text input field. And we have to add right here a few things to generate Slug based on the title. And we need to listen to the event after state updated. And that obviously accepts callback, because that's an event, it accepts callback. So we have right here closure set, and we accept state as well. Okay, so we can import that closure. It's a standard class. And then I'm going to call set, which is closure, the set, and pass the field name. In this case, we pass slug, and that slug should be like a title converted into slug. So in this case, state will be title. So I just need to use str helper to call slug on that and specify state. So whenever the state is updated for the title, Alpine.js Livewire, more specifically, Livewire will generate slug and update that. So if I save this now and go in the categories and click new category and just type right here lorem ipsum, okay, it does not work because I missed that we have to specify reactive. So this field is reactive. Okay, this is something, without that it doesn't work. Now let's reload the page, and that should be lorem ipsum. Okay, so and the slug was automatically generated. Okay, you can change the slug if you don't like, and click create. And when you change the slug, and then if you decide to change the title into something else, then the slug will be regenerated. Okay, just click create right here, and we need to copy this functionality into post resource as well. So let's put this right here. Okay, we have 2 commas, and we need to import closure. Okay, now let's go in the posts, click new post, and lorem ipsum, and the slug is actually generated. So perfect. Now let's adjust the columns of the tables for categories and posts, as well as the form input fields. Let's open PHP Storm and go in the table method, and we have title slug created at and updated at. I think we don't need slug in this table, and maybe created at as well. Only title and updated at will be enough. If I just reload the page, we see only those 2 fields. So we can also move these categories into a different section. At the moment, dashboard, categories, and posts are all in the same section, but we can actually change this. If we open this category resource, and I believe right here we have this property called navigation group. And then we just specify the text, for example, content. I'm going to save this, And if I reload the page, we see that categories are now under content section, and that's collapsible section, by the way. We can also change the icon right here. The Filament PHP uses hero icons, but version 1. Okay, so if we just type in the Google hero icons, and I really love those icons, it's very easy to get started and use that. You just need to copy SVG in HTML files. In this case, we need only names, but this is version 2. Okay, we need to go to the version 1. Here it is, and then any name right here can be used after hero icon -o. Instead of collection, we can type, for example, academic cap. And just like this, we can use any icons available right here, which is awesome. And we're going to actually change the icon, but for the posts. Let's open post resource and let's change this icon into something like, let's search for document maybe. Now we have multiple document variations. Let's use document text. I'm going to get this name and paste this right here. And now let's use navigation group as well to be the same content. So we need categories and posts both to be under content section. Here we go. And the icon was also changed for posts. Now let's open posts and click new post. I'm going to work now on this form and adjust the layout, change the thumbnail to be in file upload field, remove these users, basically all the work that is necessary right here. And I'm going to also open the Filament documentation, and what we need is layouts. So let's scroll up, click on search, and we can search for layouts. I really like the way how Filament PHP gives you possibility to configure your layouts. Okay, so if you have a look, we have those columns. I think this is for the tables, but I want for forms. Okay, I want layouts for forms. Okay, it comes from the, okay, let's have a look. Layout. Yeah, that's it. Here we go. So basically all the form is rendered in this category resource right here under form schema method. Okay, so we have those fields. We can group them, we can reorder them, we can split them. At the moment it is already split into 2 columns because by default it is implemented like this, but we can actually combine this. Or we can wrap everything into a card. So I'm going to actually use card at the moment. So inside the form, we need to use card component, that is Filament components card make, and we have to pass make, and then we need schema. We pass an array, and we can put everything inside the schema. So I'm going to actually take everything from here and put this inside the card, and let's format the code. Okay, now we have everything in the card. If I save this and reload the page, we see everything now is inside the card, and I really like this approach. That's in my opinion better. And I want the, for example, Slug to be on the right side of the title. Okay, and the thumbnail and body and everything to be like they are at the moment. Okay, so I'm gonna go and make changes right here. I'm going to actually use a section component. I believe it is section. Let's actually go in the documentation and search for section. Section also has heading. Maybe we don't want heading, it's called probably something else. So we have possibility to generate wizards or tabs or field sets. I think what I need is either grid. Yeah, I think we need grid. So I'm going to get the grid, paste, but I want there to be 2 columns. Okay, and actually, if I just delete and autocomplete grid. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to call make with 2 columns, and then I'm going to call schema on that and put title and slug inside. Okay, so now we have form. Inside form we have single card like this. Inside card we have one grid, and then we have fields. Okay, if I save this and now have a look, now I see title and slug next to each other. Okay, this is exactly how I want it. So if I start typing now, the slug is still populated. Now let's change this thumbnail into file upload. So I'm going to use now file upload, and we don't need max length. And let's have a look. Here it is. And we can have a look in the, how many ends did I set? Okay. Let's search for fields. I want to show you all field options what we have. Here it is. Under form builder section, I really like the documentation. It's very well organized. Where is that? Here it is. So fields, getting started. Okay, this is where we are at the moment. And we have many different types, like text input, select, checkbox, toggle. We have radio, file upload, rich text, rich editor, which is we're going to also use, and repeater, and builder, and here's everything basically what it supports. And you can also create your own custom fields, which is pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to change this thumbnail into file upload. I already did that. I'm going to change this into rich editor. That should be toggle. And I'm going to remove this user, but I'm going to change this into categories. Okay, so relationship goes into categories, and the title should be, the column name should be title, because categories has title column. So we're going to display title right here. And this should be categories like this. Okay, and that is required? No, that's actually not required. You can skip categories on the post. Or let's make it required. Why you should create a post without categories? Not sure. Now let's reload the page. We have an error. Belongs to many, get owner, key, name. I think that should be category ID. No. Let's specify right here multiple. We need this to be multiple. Maybe that's the point. Yeah, that's it. So now inside categories, when we start typing something, it auto-completes. At the moment, I think we don't have anything in the categories. So I'm going to actually delete this and create few actual categories like JavaScript. Let's create PHP. Let's create Laravel. I think 3 will be enough for testing. New form. And I start typing and it searches, and here it is. So we can specify now multiple categories to our post, and that looks pretty cool. So I want to change the layout again, and this is also rich text, pay attention. But I want to change the layout, and I want like thumbnail and categories to be on the right side of this form. So here we have this card, and I'm going to create, well, we can create another card, or we can create a grid, and that grid can be splitted into, how should I do this? So let's make this form to have like a column length, columns, 12 columns, okay? So the form now has 12 columns. This card, which is the main card, let's give it column span to have 8. And I'm going to create now the same type of card, second card now, and that will have, comma is missing here, and this will have call span 4. Okay, and I'm going to take thumbnail and categories inside the sidebar. So I format the code, save everything, reload the page, and this is exactly what I wanted. So we see right here horizontal scroll because my browser zoomed in a lot, actually, because I'm like generally zoom in when I'm developing something. It was even zoomed out, but like on a normal screen it will look like this. Okay, you can adjust the layout as much as you need. If I click browse and choose some type of image, let's choose this one, then it is uploaded successfully. And if I choose now, let's save this, actually let's make record. So I have this auto completed. Why JavaScript is weird, and lorem ipsum. Okay, let's click create. This field is required, but that should not be required. So I should have made it optional in migrations. I'm going to specify this right now. Create record. User ID doesn't have default value. Okay, so now we need to set the user when the record is about to be created. Let's open again Filament documentation and let's search for creating records. Creating records and customizing data before saving. This is exactly what we want. And we should create the following function. I'm going to actually copy that function and go under post resource and create post. Okay, so that is, we should have the following method. And if I save this now and just close this and hit create again, okay, I think because this is required, but I actually populate this. Okay, so that was created. Okay, here it is. So we have user Zura, we have created, updated, basically everything except the thumbnail, because the thumbnail needs to be an image. Okay, and I think because we have, this is the view page, by the way. When we click on the record, this is view page. I click edit, we are in the edit page. The image is not properly saved. Let's choose the image again. Let's make it active, by the way. And let's click save changes. Okay, that was saved. Okay, now we have the thumbnail. Okay, perfect. Now let's modify this table, because I think we did everything pretty well in the article post creation page. Now let's adjust this. Let's go in the post resource, scroll down below. I don't want slug, I don't want body, and wait, do I need username? No, I think I don't need the username. However, I'm going to comment this out, don't remove. And I'm going to remove also created it. I will leave these published it. So I save this, and I'm going to make this also to be image column. And the active is icon column, which is good. So I just reload the page. Let's move this thumbnail as a very first. So we have the thumbnail, we have titles, status, published it, and updated it. Okay, and just like this, we have customized our CRUD. Whenever we click on the record and it is selected, we have possibility to delete, because that is added in the bulk edit, bulk actions. That's awesome. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you hit the like button. Thank you. Now, I'm going to create one more post and then we can move on the front end. That is lorem ipsum post. And let's specify right here, to be PHP. I'm not going to make it active. Also, I'm not going to choose published it. Let's type test right here. and click create. Okay, we just need to adjust this. I'm going to go in the post resource, and in the form I'm going to remove required on the publish date. However, if it is required on the database level, we are going to have problems. So let's just reload the page. Let's specify lorem ipsum and click create. Okay, category is required, so we have to specify it. This is required, we have to specify it and click create. Okay, publish date cannot be now. That's exactly what I was thinking. So actually I prefer to open now my existing migration, which is for categories. Unfortunately, I have to, like, I can create new migration and change the column, but I think it will be more relevant to just make this nullable right here. But in this case, I have to drop last two migrations and recreate them. So PHP artisan migrate a rollback dash dash step equals 2 that will roll back, migrate rollback. Okay, is there any kind of error? Cannot drop table post reference by foreign key constraint. Okay, so hold on. Right here, I am dropping category posts, but that should be category post. This is the problem. Okay, so this was problem because when this migration rollback was run, it tried to drop the category posts, and then when the second migration was run, it tried to drop posts, but that post was still referencing to the category post table. So let's execute this. Okay, we have problem again. Drop table if exists posts that references to category post ID foreign. Okay, why is that a problem actually? So first category post needs to be dropped, right? So if I execute step 1, I think that was already dropped. If we check migrations, that's interesting what's going to be the status right there. I'm going to use now PHP Storm's database tool, and you can use basically any database client like MySQL Workbench, for example, to connect to the database which is running under Docker. So the host is localhost, this is the default port, the user will be Sale, and password is just password. Literally password, like this. Okay, let's test the connection. Yep, it works. Let me choose the schema. Schema needs to be... Okay, what schemas do we have? There are 4 schemas, Laravel, 10, blog, and new. This is what I want to choose. And check now migrations. Let's have a look. What's the latest migration there? Let's create posts table. And it is trying to drop posts. But I think it cannot drop because there are records in the posts. Okay, that is very edge case because I just forgot to add the nullable in the publish date, so it doesn't worth to spend too much time on this. I'm gonna go in the posts and just delete that, and hopefully now I can roll back 1. No, actually it does not roll back. Why? Because Probably because the table is not dropped. Category post is not dropped. Exactly. So the previous migration, that migration was rolled back because right here it was written, drop if exists category posts. That did not exist. The category post table that was not dropped, but this record was removed from the migrations table as successfully rolled back. That's it. So I can manually delete category post. Okay. And now I can roll back. Yes. And now I can run PHP Artisan migrate. Okay. Those two migrations will be reapplied. Now, if I check the database, I will see category post right here. And again, I'm going to check posts table and I will see published at is not required anymore. Okay, it doesn't have that green dot next to it, which indicates that it is required or not. Now I'm going to go under posts and I'm going to create why JavaScript is weird again. Let's choose this keyboard, which is not relevant, but like we are testing at the moment. Here it is. And let's specify test here and click create. Okay, that was created. We haven't specified published at because we just created our post. We don't want it to be published at the moment. Okay, that's the whole idea. Let's create second post, lorem ipsum test. Let's specify now mouse and test again right here. Right here we have possibility to specify headings and subheadings, the lists and images, as well as the code block, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's choose now this to be Laravel and click create. Okay, so we have successfully created two posts. And I think now we can move on the front end side. Okay, now let's open front end. I'm gonna just duplicate this probably and remove it. So this is the front end side, and this is our blog template, which we want to either download or grab content. So you click this get template, it opens the GitHub link, and then we have two HTMLs, blog and posts. I'm gonna click on blog. And right here we have the whole HTML. It uses Alpine.js and Tailwind CSS. Okay, and we need to adjust them. Okay, I'm gonna click on row and get entire HTML. Okay, now let's open PHP Storm and go. Let's collapse everything and go under resources and views. At the moment we have only welcome blade, which has the layout as well as the content. We don't need that to be like this. I want to create layout. So I'm going to create now component. PHP Artisan make component. Let's call this app layout. Hit the enter. Okay, app layout component was created. So if we go in under app, view components, app layout, it has right here view name, which is under components, app layout. Well, I'm going to change this to be layouts app, just like this. So now if I go in the resources views, right here we have components and then app layout. I'm going to rename the components folder, call this layouts. And I'm going to rename this app layout and just call app, so that the view name exactly matches now the component layout. And I'm going to open now layout, which is empty, almost empty. Now it's empty. And I'm going to paste entire HTML, which I copied from the GitHub. Okay. Now let's identify what is actually layout and what is part of the view. So this is body, we have the navigation, we have the header, and we have a topic navigation as well. And then container comes, and then we have the section, and then a side, and below is a footer. Okay, and some Alpine.js scripts. So if we have a look in the design, so what is the layout? Obviously, this top part is part of layout. We can consider this about us and that Instagram section to be part of layout as well, or maybe we don't even need that. I actually want to put right here latest posts maybe, or latest categories right here. We don't need obviously this in Instagram section. So we can, at the moment, we can make this part of the layout. Okay, and this will be actually the content. So this will be actually content. I'm going to get this, and because this is layout, I'm going to output right here slot. Okay, now I'm going to open this welcome blade. Actually, I just copied this portion, so I'm going to save it somewhere. So I'm going to create new Scratch file, blade Scratch file, and paste that. Okay, here we have a couple of articles. Those are demo articles. I don't want this to be lost. So I have this in a Scratch file. Now, right here, we have to make a few changes. If I open welcome blade again, like the language is taken from the app get local. So I need to get that HTML in the layout, replace that, like, oops, copy this and replace here. Okay, we also want, this is the welcome, yeah, title. So we can use the title from the configs, but I think that's okay. So we can leave this at the moment. Tailwind blog template, the content, the author content, we can remove that. Okay, I think this is okay. This is good. Now let's edit this welcome, delete everything, take those articles from the Scratch file and put under welcome. Okay, and I'm gonna close the Scratch file, and finally I'm gonna rename the welcome to be home blade. Okay, now if we open web.php and change this into home, save that, and open our application and just reload, we have problem. We don't have styles. Let's inspect this and have a look. Reload the page. Okay, I know the reason. In the home, we don't use the component as a layout. So we need to use X app layout like this. Save and reload, and here we go. So this is now our Laravel application. We have layout defined and we have content coming from the home. Now let's create controller and select posts and pass this to the view and render them properly. We don't want anything to be hard-coded right here. Okay, I'm gonna bring up the terminal and create controller by executing PHP artisan make controller, and let's call this post controller, and let's also specify -- resource. We don't need everything, every resource methods, but let's specify still, because deleting is much easier than writing. So resource and -- model equals post. Let's hit the enter. Post controller created successfully. Let's open post controller, and we have to work in the index. Let's actually return view from here, which should be home. Okay, and let's open web, and I'm going to change this into post controller index, and let's give it also name to be home, and let's change this use qualifier with import. So I save this, reload, I see the exact same result. Now let's open post controller, and I'm going to actually close everything else. So right here we can, by the way, specify based on the PHP, based on the Laravel 10, and now we can have types everywhere, because the minimum PHP requirement for Laravel 10 is 8.1. Okay, we can specify view, for example, that should return illuminate view. Or we can just leave this empty as it is right now. That's not going to hurt as well, but that's additional like small security measurement that makes sure that you always return view and nothing else from here. Now, we need to query posts. Posts equal post, let's specify query, and we want to only select those posts which has active equals 1. And we want also those which is published. So where published at equals null, or no, where it does not equal null, actually, or is not null would be more accurate maybe. But let's have a look what this will select. Order by, we're gonna order that by published at with descending, and I'm gonna call paginate on that because we will need pagination as well. So we have posts, and I'm gonna pass now posts using compact function to view. Now if I open home.blade PHP, right here we have 3 articles. Okay, the structure is identical, but we don't need all of them. We just need one which we need to put inside the loop. But I'm going to actually create maybe a separate dedicated component for that article. PHP artisan make component. Let's call this post item component. Okay, and I think we don't need a special class for that. We can just create view only. View -- view. I believe that's the correct flag. Component created successfully. Now let's have a look. Do we have the component under app view components? No, we don't have. If we go under resources, views, components, we have post item right here. Okay, and now I'm going to copy this article and paste into post item. And we're going to accept right here post, and then based on the post, we are going to output certain information. But from here, we are going to iterate over posts as post. And then we're going to call x post item like this. And we specify post. That's going to be the post like this. We need to accept that post right here. Let's implement actually outputting post item right here in this component. So we already have post variable available right here. So let's just try to output right here thumbnail, for example, post thumbnail. Then right here we need to output categories. So I'm going to start iterating over categories for the post. We will need post categories as a category. And like this, let's output right here category title, and right here we need to link to that a page where we will see only those posts which belong to the category. So we don't have that road created yet, so I'm going to leave this as it is right now. So this one will be title for the post. Because this is a post item, so this should not be an A, excuse me, so this should be an A actually, and this should be linked to the inner page of the post. We don't also have that road, we're going to create that. So let's output right here post title at the moment, and down below we have the user, so we can have post like this, post user name, and published on, and right here we need date. Okay, so here we should have post published at, and down below we need to output the description, the content. Not the whole content should be outputted right here. So it will make sense if we just output short, like a few symbols, not the whole body. So maybe let's assume that we create a special method in the post model, like get or just short body. Okay, so post has body, but we don't want the whole body to be outputted in the listing. So let's just call short body, and we will have to create that method in the post. But for now, let's save this and have a look in the browser. Here we go. So let's just click on this, reload the page. Okay, nothing is actually selected, and let's go in the post controller because I think we have something. Okay, so this where should be probably changed into where date, because we have that to be date, and then published at must be less than now, and we should use carbon now. Okay, so published at needs to be in the past, basically. So if I save this and now reload the page, we don't see anything. Now let's check our posts, and yeah, the active status is not marked, so we just click on edit. Let's mark this active and let's choose date, which is in the past. Okay, so that was saved, and let's activate the second one. That is in the past. Perfect. Now let's reload the page. Okay, so we have an error, which is good. The short body doesn't exist. Now let's open post. Here we have the post model. I'm going to control and click on that. And now let's create that short body, which should return string. And we are going to return from here str words. I think I'm using different str. Return str, which should be illuminate support. Then we're going to call words method on that. Then I'm going to strip tags, remove basically any tags from this body, and then finally I'm going to just output like a 30 words from this body. So if I save this now and reload the page, we see post is actually rendered. The description is not there because the description actually is not written inside. So let me actually generate lorem ipsum text. If I go in any blade file and just type lorem and hit the tab, this is it. Okay, so I'm going to cut this, and then I'm going to basically delete everything and paste. Oops. Okay, let me remove any kind of formatting, paste this right here, and I'm going to paste multiple paragraphs. Okay, so this is just lorem ipsum text. So I saved, that was lorem ipsum test. And now if I just reload, so here we see that the title is not outputted for some reason. Where's the post item? Oops, I have a typo. Lorem ipsum test. And as you see, we see like a short description of the long, and that's pretty cool. If the description is too small, then the card is displayed like this. That's a Talon CSS like a thing, and we can fix that using Talon CSS. But in most cases, in 99%, the descriptions will always be at least one line. So if the description is like long enough, then this card will be on full width. But of course, like we can add some Talon CSS classes to stretch it on full width. What I don't like is the date, how this looks like. So let's create actually a function like get a formatted date, something like this. And let's open now this post and create get formatted date. We're going to return this published at, and the published at actually needs to be an instance of Carbon. By default, published at will be, I think it will be string. Actually, that's a good point to actually see what's published at. So this published at. Okay, now let's see what's published at. That's a string, as I mentioned. But if we create a protected variable cast right here and specify that published at, I want this to be like date time, then this will be an instance of Carbon. So if I save this and reload the page, now we see that this is an instance of Carbon. Okay, and on this date time right here, I can call a method like format and specify the format. So I want the format to be f, let's put in this string f, then j, uppercase s, and y. So you will see what's the format, and I'm gonna just reload the page. So here we see, so j is the name of the month. Then we have, f is the name of the month. Then we have j, which is the number day of the month. And then we have this uppercase s, which is the this rd, or first, if it's 1, it's going to be st. If it's 2, it's going to be nd. I think it's called ordinal index. Not sure. So if you just search for like PHP datetime format, you will see the actual name of what is this, like uppercase S, somewhere right here. So, I'm just curious. Here it is. Ordinal suffix, exactly. Okay, so that's uppercase S. And if you want to like change the formatting, you can find all the possible formats right here. So I'm going to close this. Okay, now we have dates, now we have user, and we have the listing actually. The category is actually also correctly outputted. However, the image is not correctly outputted. And if we inspect the image to see what's the path, we see right here that we don't have like, this is localhost / the file name. So probably storage is missing right there. So if I go in the thumbnail and put /storage, save and just reload, here we go. So we have now images available. So I think that's pretty cool. Now we can, I think this is pretty cool. Now I think we can move on the pagination. To actually activate the pagination, we need more than 2 items, 2 posts. I'm not going to go ahead and create all the posts. Instead, I'm going to use a seeder for this. Let's bring up the terminal, and I'm going to execute php artisan make. I'm going to create factory. That's going to be post factory. Let's hit the enter. Now let's open post factory. Here it goes. And we have to define the definitions for the fields, for each field. So we have title, which is going to be like a fake title. So actually, I'm going to create a variable right here, title, which will be like fake real text. And we can specify this real text, the length of the text as well, like 50, for example. Let's specify. So we need title right here. We also need a slug, which needs to be generated from the title. That's why I created title as a variable. So I'm going to use the str slug method for this, passing title. We will need thumbnail, which is going to be image URL. We will need body, fake real text, and in the real text we can specify like a large number for max characters. We need active, which needs to be Boolean, and we have published, published at, which needs to be random date time. Okay, like this. And user ID, let's specify at the moment user1. So basically every post created by this factory will belong to the user1. Now let's open a database seeder and let's uncomment this factory and change this into post. And we want to create like a 50 posts using this database seeder. So PHP artisan db :seed. Let's hit the enter. Seeding database, it was finished. Now let's reload the page. And we have those posts created, which is fantastic. The images are broken because every image now has /storage before that. Okay, so I guess that's okay for now because we just like fake created the post, and the URL basically is an absolute URL from the placeholder via placeholder.com. So in our application we won't have that, like the absolute URLs, but it's going to be good addition into the system if we create a function right here which will check if the URL starts with HTTP, then it's going to return different thing, otherwise it's going to return different thing. So basically I'm going to use str starts, excuse me, what I'm doing, stupid mistake. So get thumbnail maybe. So inside get thumbnail I'm going to check if str, come on, starts with, I'm going to specify if this thumbnail, if that starts with HTTP, then I'm going to return this thumbnail. Okay, let's put semicolon. Otherwise we are going to return /storage/thumbnail. So I save this and now all the images should be rendered properly. Okay, we have this one, but the others are not rendered. Now let's check what's going on. Okay, that storage is still added. If str starts with, so if the thumbnail starts with HTTP, it's gonna return this thumbnail. Excuse me, I don't use this get thumbnail, so I generally make such type of mistakes very often. So I create that, everything looks good. I'm surprised why it doesn't work. Stupid mistake. We don't use that. Get thumbnail. Here we go. Reload the page. Okay, something is wrong. Now it's broken for everything. Storage, so we have storage twice. I think this should be removed. That's it. That's more like it. No, it's not more like it. Yeah, the other images are there, but our actual images are not there. Why? Because I don't concatenate this with this thumbnail. Another stupid mistake. No, this. Okay, challenge. Do you know what will happen if I leave this code like this? Just think for 5 seconds, pause the video, think for 5 seconds, and just let me know. Let me know in the comment section down below what was your thoughts. But that's going to definitely cause the crashing our browser server, because we are calling get thumbnail inside get thumbnail, and just like this, we will crash it. It's basically a recursive function without base case. Okay, so we're going to use this get thumbnail. Now, if I reload the page, we see the images there. Okay, so now we have more than enough post items to implement actually pagination. So let's go in the post controller, and I'm going to set the paginate into 5. So to make the scrolling easier. And now let's go in the home, and we have these hard-coded pagination links, and at the top of that we are going to output post links. The post basically is a variable which is a paginator variable, instance of the paginator. And then links will simply render posts links. Links will render the pagination buttons, as you see right here, okay? But we need to adjust these pagination buttons, try to create the same design as we have down below, okay? And we just need to publish the paginator views and modify it. So if I open now Laravel documentation, Laravel, go in the documentation and search for pagination. Then let's search for publish. Here we go. So under section like customizing the pagination view, we can publish the Laravel pagination views and then we can customize it. Okay, so I'm going to copy this command, open the terminal and paste this and hit the enter. So it actually published the pagination assets and we can find this under resources, views, vendor, pagination. So let's go under resources, views, vendor, pagination. And inside there we have different versions for pagination like Bootstrap 4, 5, some semantic UI, etc. So what we are interested in is the Tailwind blade because this is the default one which is used. To just test that if this is the actual one, I'm going to delete everything, save that, and reload the website, and we won't see this pagination anymore. Okay, so let's undo this, and now let's actually tweak this. We have to make a few changes right here. Let's have a look in the home. So we have the following classes for the pagination item, which is actually active. So this one is indicates that the item is active. So let's actually copy this, open our Tailwind blade and find the if statement which indicates which one is actually active. So I think this is for the mobile and this is for desktop. Okay, let's focus on the desktop fully. So here we have, this is showing how many items we're going to have. So this, let's reload the page. So this showing. So we don't actually have this in our design. So let's actually remove it. I'm going to remove this showing. Now, if the paginator is on the first page, then we render the previous. We're going to take care of this a little bit later. In else case, we have this previous URL. Okay, where is that? That's for 3 dot separator, which I think also don't need, but let's scroll down below. Here it is. So if the page is current page, then these are the classes we are going to add. So I'm going to now paste this, save, and have a look. Okay, this is it. Okay, that looks exactly as this one. Now let's create styles for the second one. Now let's go on home. This is for the second. I think we need to add these classes right here. Here we go. I'm going to paste this, reload the page. Okay, that's good. There's also shadow on this. I'm going to remove that shadow. Where's that shadow? This is for next. Shadow will be right here on the span. Okay, now we don't have shadows, we have the hover effect. Now let's implement the next button. So scroll down below. If paginator has more pages, then this is for the next one. Otherwise, this is probably next, but it's going to be disabled. So we don't show disabled next button. Instead, we can remove that. But if there's more pages, we need to show this next. And let's take classes for the next one. Here are the classes. I'm going to paste that. And also let's take this font awesome icon, this one, for the next one. Let's remove this SVG and paste the font awesome icon. I'm going to save that, reload the page, and this is the next icon. Let's specify, by the way, text as well. Next. Okay, perfect. So we have pagination links and the next button. And when we click on the next button, it actually changes into page 2. Now, let's implement previews in the same way, in the exact same way. So basically, I can copy this and find where's the previews. That should be at the top. Right here, probably. If paginator is on the first page, then we show disabled previews, which we don't need. So I'm going to actually change this. If the paginator is not on the first page, and delete that and else statement. And this is where we're going to display the previews. So I'm going to paste my copied anchor link. Okay, let's format the code. So we need to change the URL to be previews. Let's remove this. Let's first display the arrow, but the arrow should not be right. It should be left. And then let's write prev right here. And also right here, there is a margin left too, which should be changed into margin right too. And right here, we also have margin left. I'm going to replace this in margin right. So I save that, reload the page, and see. Here we go. So we have previews, next, and every link. If I click previews once again, we are on the first page and we don't see previews anymore. This is exactly how we want it. If I go next, next, that works. Now click on the last one, and then we don't see next anymore. Okay, perfect. If I go in the home right now, by the way, how the pagination looks like on the so this is how it looks like on mobile. So we don't even need these previews and next, and we can leave the same thing for mobile as well. So let me actually remove that. We don't need. Open Tailwind, scroll up. That should not be hidden. So I'm going to remove that. It should be flex always. And let's remove this above, which is only for mobile. Save, reload the page. Here we see. However, it makes sense why Laravel has different type of pagination on mobile, simply because this doesn't look good on mobile. Is it an actual mobile screen? Let's check this. Let's switch to iPhone. That's fine, but if there are more than like 7 pages, then this will look bad. Let's go in the pagination and change this into 2. Okay, it displays these 3 dots right there, and there are a lot of pagination. So actually, let's go in the Tailwind, undo this. We need this on mobile, and we can leave that as it is right now. And let's undo this CSS class as well. So on pagination, it will be like it was before. That next and previous buttons will be there. You get the idea. You can customize those buttons if you don't like, but that's fine. Okay, I'm going to remove because there are too many links in my opinion. So let's go under home, and before calling links, I am going to call actually, that's a good point. So I want to show you something. So if I just debug the posts and have a look. So this is an instance of length aware paginator. So I'm going to copy that class name, maybe the fully qualified name, and I'm going to define right here. I'm going to annotate that variable. So like this. So variable of posts is an instance of this length aware paginator. Okay, now if I try to use posts and call some methods, PHP Storm auto-completes everything what is available there. Okay, I think on each side, exactly this is what I want. So I'm going to set on each side to be 1. If I save this now and reload the page, scroll down below, now we have 1 on each side of the active menu item. Okay, and that makes more sense. So we learned how we can actually customize these on each side. That's pretty cool. Now let's go in the post controller, and I'm going to change this into 10. I'm going to display 10 items per page. And since we have implemented now listing of the posts, we're going to do a couple of things. So I'm going to clean up the layout. I don't need these images right here. Instagram section can be removed. We need the About Us section. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to also clean up the footer. Basically, I'm going to prepare everything as it should be finally. And we're going to also make this About text like content to be editable from the admin side. And also the About Us page should be also created. So let's go, let's remove this. We don't see any items. That's fine. Now let's go in the Up Blade, and let's clean up a few things. If we start from the top, we have this top bar, which can be removed. That's fine. We have minimal blog. I'm going to actually call this the Codeholic blog. Let's say this is lorem ipsum text, which is like a main sentence about what you want to tell your readers. Okay, so this is something which should be configurable from the admin side. Let's remove the Instagram section. Here we go. So let's remove that. And in the footer, there's this carousel. So we can remove this carousel and this script tag for the carousel data as well. Okay, let's zoom out to have a overall look. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. Okay, and down below, let's remove the links from the footer as well. We don't need that. This is myblog.com. Let's leave it. And instead of padding bottom, we're going to have padding Y vertical. Okay, perfect. Nice. Now let's make those texts editable. I'm going to actually create a new table for that. PHP artisan make model text widget, and -m for the migration as well. Create text widget table, and let's specify a few things right here. Like we need image and title, so let's define table string image. That should be like 2048. That can be nullable. Let's duplicate this 2 times. We need title, which can also be nullable. So I'm going to make everything nullable, and I'm going to explain why I do this. And content. Well, I think we can make title required. That's okay. And the content needs to be long text. And it must definitely be nullable. And let's specify also active, which needs to be Boolean, like this. And that by default will be false. So now we have this table ready. I'm going to add one additional column, which is going to be key, string key. And that must be required, and that must be unique as well. So basically the idea is that that's going to be a universal table for saving some text contents for your website. Like we're going to create About Us section, for example. The key will be About Us, and we can specify image or title and content. And then based on that, this is extra, based on that, we can select the data from the database and output in certain places in our website. So that's good. We have this text widget ready. We don't have actually ready. We just create migration. PHP artisan migrate. Okay, that was applied. Now let's open text widget. And I'm going to define right here few helper methods. First, let's define a fillable properties like key. Let me copy everything. All of them are fillable. Like this. Okay, next let's define a public static function get title, and this will accept string key, and this should return it should select text widget based on the key, and then just return the value of the title. So we are going to query widget, which will be text widget query where key equals given key, and we have to also specify active status where active corresponds to 1 or true, and we're going to call first on this. So we're just going to grab the text widget, and let's check now if the widget was selected. Then I'm going to return a widget title. Otherwise, I'm going to return an empty string like this. So let's try now to create no, let me first actually duplicate this. Let's prepare everything right here. So I'm going to duplicate this and create second function get content, which is doing something similar, but we actually also need probably to add caching. I'm going to do also caching, but first let's select text widget based on the key and active, and then if the widget is found, we are going to return content. Otherwise, we're going to return an empty string. Okay, and we might call, like, we might select one widget and we want both title and content from the widget. So if we do like this, then this method will be executed and this method will be executed also. And this will cause selecting text widgets, the same text widgets, twice. Why don't we cache our selected text widget, so if we need to select it second time, it's gonna serve from the cache. Okay, that's, I think, really good optimization point. So let's use now cache. Which cache is that? Illuminate support facades cache. Then we are gonna call get. We need to specify some kind of key like text widget, for example, dash and the text widget key. So that's gonna be based on that key. It will either get it from the cache or select. Then we have function. Let's use key right here, and we are going to return this part. Okay, and finally we're going to assign this into widget. So what this will do is try to get the content from the cache using that key. If the content didn't exist, then it will execute that function. That function will just run the following code. It will return the value, and the cache component, cache facade, then will set that into cache as well. I think it should have get or set or something like this. So we're going to test this. As I remember, it will simply return that, but we can test this. If we go in the get, also, we don't see that. Okay, I'm sure we can figure this out a little bit later, but I just want to mention that when you're developing something, if you think putting a little bit extra effort beforehand, and then you can finally have a much better product. For example, you don't select the same objects twice in the code. We can figure this out. We're going to also debug this, but a little bit later. Okay, so we can do the same thing right here. So I'm going to just simply get this. Let's remove that. Excuse me. Let's delete that. Return this. and we're going to assign this into widget. Okay, perfect. Now let's generate a filament resource for the text widgets. PHP artisan make filament dash resource. Let's specify text widget resource dash dash we need view and dash dash generate. Let's hit the enter. Text widget resource was generated. Now let's check the admin panel. We have text widgets. That's perfect. That's super cool. Let's modify text widget resource text widget resource. Let's change the group, navigation group, to be content. We have key, which must be required. We have image, which must be file upload. We have title, which must be required. We have content and active. In the table, we can have just key and title. We don't need, and status maybe, and updated it. Okay, we just need more than expected. So, and let's actually change this to show inside the form everything in a single column, like columns 1, like this. Now let's specify about us sidebar, for example, as a key, and then let's choose some sort of image. Do we need image on the about us sidebar? No, we don't need that. Let's specify title about us, for example, and content, which is this. Well, it's a lorem ipsum, but you can type about me. So I am developer with 11 plus years of experience. That's it. Okay, let's make it active, and I'm gonna create that. And when this is created, I want it to be redirected to the listing page. So I will go into text widget resource, create text widget, and just override the function, which I think I did in the posts. No, I haven't done this in the posts. Get redirect URL. Where did I do that? I think I haven't done this. Okay, let's check these filament redirect, customizing form redirects. Here we have this get redirect URL. I'm going to copy that and paste in the text widget resource. No, we need create text resource. Paste this right here. Save that. Go in the filament. I think we need to do the same thing in update. Edit text resource. So now if I edit this and click save, I'm redirected to the list, which is exactly what I wanted. I actually don't need the view page, probably. Don't need view page. So if I go in the list text widgets, or maybe view text widget, completely delete that and go in the text widget resource and remove this view, what will happen? Text widget is included somewhere. Let's remove it. Okay, now it opens edit page, which is exactly what I want. Okay, now let's go on the website and we need to output this about us text widget right here. So let's open sidebar. Sidebar. We don't have sidebar, so let's create that. Let's go in the home blade and we render our section right here. Okay, where's the sidebar? That is probably in the app blade. Here we go. So this is a side which in my opinion should be inside the view. So I'm going to take this out and go in the home. We have this section which comes right here, and then below that section I will put this sidebar. So the result is identical, and now I'm going to make this as a separate component. PHP artisan make component sidebar. Okay, well, let's see the enter. Sidebar component was created, sidebar blade, and now let's get the side and paste that here. And now let's output text widget get title and specify about us sidebar, which is the key. Okay, so then I'm going to copy this, and right here I'm going to output it as an HTML. But I'm going to specify, instead of get title, I'm going to specify get content. Let's change this into, let's leave this, by the way. We will have to change this whenever the URL is created, but let's leave it as it is for now. And let's have a look. If we go in the home blade, we need to use X sidebar component. And here we go. So we have this about us, which comes from the backend. Okay, now we have a possibility to fully customize that text, specify whatever you want, as well as change the title. Save that, reload. Here we go. That view button, by the way, needs to be removed. So if we simply go in the edit text and view, remove, reload, that's perfect. Okay. Now, in the same way, let's create a new text widget for the following text. New widget, header, let's call it just header, header, and the content will be something. You know, I'm going to just copy and paste this. I don't want to spend time on come up something. So that's active. Let's click create. Reload the page. Of course, we haven't used that. Up blade, and at the very top we have this lorem ipsum something. So we will output text widget get get content. That's going to be lorem ipsum something. Actually, this one will have a paragraph inside. So what we can do is just output the header. This is a title, and we can output the title. In this case, the title should be this one. We change this, leave the content. So the content basically is more for HTML content. And by the way, I haven't changed this into rich text, which I should have done. Let's change this into, here it is. Rich text, rich editor. So this content is more for rich editor, and I'm going to specify this lorem ipsum here. And if I go in the layout now, I want to output the title for header. Save, reload, we see the same thing. If I modify this, we see now modified text. So that shows that it actually works perfectly. So these text widgets are basically really handy in certain cases. So you have key and you can select the text which is managed from the admin panel in any place you want. In the same fashion, we're going to create a little bit later about page where we will create a new text widget for the about, and we will output that. So I think that's perfect. Now, let's start working on the post inner page. Let's open web.php and create new root. That will be simply post right here, but we have to specify that I want to select the post by Slug. And we're going to have show, and that's going to be view. Let's go in the show. We already accept post right here, but that post might not be active. So we have to make an additional checks, like if post is not active, or if post published at is in the future, we specify carbon now. If that happens, then let's just throw new not found HTTP exception, this one. Okay, otherwise we're going to proceed and return view show, and we have compact here, and we need to select actually post. No, we don't need, we have post. So let's just specify post here. Okay, perfect. Let's also have a look at the blog template we are using, and we have to just copy the blog inner page, post inner page content. Before that, let's create this blade file under resources views. Let's actually create, well, that should be post.show or maybe post.view. So under views, let's create new file, post/view.blade.php. Perfect. We need to use xup layout. And now let's open our blog template. Here it is. Click Get Template. Click on Post HTML and click on Row. So this is the HTML we need. I'm going to copy everything, but we don't need to have a layout. So I'm going to paste it and then clean up. So we don't need this HTML and doc type because we already have layout defined. We don't need this top navbar. We don't need this one. And the only thing what we need is this post section. So everything above can be deleted and everything below can be deleted as well, like this. So let's format the code. I'm going to save this and reload the page, and we actually have to make proper links. So I'm going to open post item blade and let's specify now proper links. So here we need route view, and we have to specify an actual post. Let's copy this when we click on the image. This is just for the categories. When we click on the title, we want to open the view page, and when we click on the body, we want it to open view page as well. So I save that, reload the page, and let's click on the image. You see, so it opens the view page, and this is a slug. We have an image. This is what's the image is dummy. Yeah, everything is dummy. Yeah, my bad. So everything is dummy right here. We have to make it active coming from the database, and we have to also implement this previous and next buttons. That's also very interesting. And I'm going to remove this user card at the moment. I don't need that. Let's go in the view blade. Let's expand this, and let's now output the image. Let me actually get this from here. So this is an image, paste. I will need categories as well. So I'm going to copy that and paste here. I will need title as well. Yeah, title as well. I need to drink water. Like I'm talking 1 hour non-stop, and my voice changes actually. So we have these categories. Let's format these. and this is the actual post title. So I'm gonna get that. Well, we need just post title. We don't need this to be an anchor link because that's not necessary. We are in the post inner page. So I'm going to change this into h1, remove this href, and have post title here. And then we have the user information and the publish date. Let's copy this get formatted date as well right here, and let's get this username. Okay, so everything below is already part of the body. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to output post body. So let's wrap this in a div. Then we need post body. So we save that and have a look. So we have an actual image, title, tag, and this is an HTML, so we have to output it differently. Like this. Perfect. That's pretty cool. Let's remove the user card. This is the user card. Let's remove it. And we have to implement next and previous buttons. So we have to do this from the post controller. We already have that post selected by Laravel itself. So now let's select next item, which will be post query. We have to specify that we want only active. By the way, if I just specify here true, will it work? We're gonna see. Where date published at is less than or equal to carbon now. Let's specify also. Okay, let me think. So we have the post. If we have a look, so this is, let's say that this is the very first post, and posts are generally sorted by published at descending. So I want the next basically should query post, which is the first post among those which has published date less than the current post. So we have to also specify where date, like published at, is less than the current post. Post published at. I think this is it. And let's order by published at underscore descending. And let's limit this into 1 because I only want to get 1, and then I'm going to call first on this. So we have next. Let's double check this. So I want to query active post, which has date which is less than or equal to now, which means that it must be published, and its published date is less than the published date of the current post. I think that's logical. And we order this by the descending date, which makes sure that this is the very first among those posts which has published at less than the post date. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this and call this previous. In this case, we need to change this less than into greater than. And I think everything else stays the same. We have to provide here prev and next variables. Now, if I go in the view, we have those two anchor tags. This is previous. And let's specify right here title for previous. Prev title like this. And we need to also handle the case when the previous doesn't exist. We're going to do that, but first I want to see an error for that. So here we need next title. Perfect. And if I want those links to work as well, I have to provide right here route. That's going to be view, and I'm going to specify previous, and right here route view next. We save that, reload the page, and we have an error. The error is exactly, I believe, right here, that the previous doesn't exist. Missing required parameter for route. Yeah, previous doesn't exist. So I'm going to add an extra if statement here. If previous exists, then we just render it like this. However, this gives us the next is not on the right side, it is on the left side. So what I'm going to do is create two div elements, class width 1/2, and duplicate this. This one should be here. And the other one should be here. Oops. Hold on. Like this. So I'm sure that there will always be two div elements rendered, and then inside there should be anchor links with display block and with the full. I save and reload, and I see next on the right side. If I click on the next, it opens the next post, and now I should see both previous and next. Well, this doesn't look really nice, so probably we need to use here str helper and just restrict this into number of words, like 10 maybe. That's too much. Maybe like five words. Okay, not too bad. We can even increase this into 6, but no, it should be 5. Okay, not bad. So I'm going to click next right here, and that opens the next one, next. And now let's go into previous. Okay, something bad happened. So when I click next 2 times and then I click previous, it opens the very first one, which is not very accurate. If I double check the logic again, I think this should be, it should be ascending. It should be ascending. If I reload, click next once, twice, and now I click previous, it opens the previous, and another one is JavaScript is weird. Okay, so we have actually implemented the inner page for the post, and we have implemented next and previous buttons. And I think we can move on the next section. Now, let's implement outputting categories in the sidebar and in the main navigation as well. So in the main navigation, I'm going to output top 5 categories by its number of posts inside that category. Okay, and in the sidebar, we're going to simply show all the categories, what is available right there. But first, let's make sure we have the sidebar on the post inner page. So if I go in the view, and then we have the section, let's scroll at the very bottom, and we are going to display X sidebar component right here. So if I save this, reload, we have this about us. So I'm going to display inside the sidebar all the categories. Okay, so here we have that. Let's define right here. I'm going to create the same type of div, and then inside there I'm going to create h3, and let's specify text XL, and we need font semi-bold, and we need margin bottom 3. Let's do like this. And that will be all categories. Then I'm going to iterate categories, but I don't have any categories available in this component, sidebar component. So let's open sidebar component. And first we have to select those categories. Okay, so I'm going to create sidebar, categories equals, and I'm going to copy and paste the query and explain then. Okay, so let's import this category. So we are querying from a category. We join this into category post, and we're using the proper column names. Categories ID equals category post category ID. Then we select categories title, categories slug, and we also query count of everything as a total, and we group by that by categories and order by those total. So this will query top 5 categories sorted by number of posts inside that category. That's pretty cool, right? So now we use compact and pass categories here. And if I go in this sidebar, I have categories available. So I can already iterate for each categories as category, and then we just need to display anchor tag, probably href. This is something we need to create that wrote posts by category, but then inside there we need category title, and let's also specify some tolerances, classes like text is semi-bold. We need it to be block, padding y2, padding x3 maybe, and a little bit rounded. Okay, let's make it like this. And if I reload the page, we see all categories right here. Okay, I think this looks good. If I go in the categories, we have JavaScript, PHP, and Laravel. So that doesn't show the category which does not have any items inside there. And actually, I'm going to also display right here category total, because that total is also available because that is selected inside there. So I save that, reload. Now we see how many items are in each category. And if I change this join into left join, then we're going to also have a look in the, yeah, that's strange. One of the categories we're missing, but why was that missing with the join? So that should be left join for sure. Okay, we have now 3 categories, and I'm going to open the posts generated, active posts by the database Seeder, and I'm going to assign a couple of them some actual categories. For example, let's move this into JavaScript. Let's open another one. Move this into JavaScript. Now if I reload the page, I see there are 3 articles in JavaScript category. Okay, and just like this, we'll have all categories on the right side, and when we implement a post page by category, and when we click on this, it's going to open that page. Now let's take care of the header as well in a very, very similar way. So I'm going to open up layout, and right here we will need to query categories. And by the way, this limit 5 is not necessary. That query is for app layout. So I'm going to remove this limit 5, go in the app layout, and I'm going to just paste this categories equals that, and then we provide compact categories here. Okay, we need top 5 categories here, not inside sidebar. Okay, if we open up Blade, this is the menu. So we have to iterate over categories as category. Let's move this up, and we are gonna output a category title. Perfect. Let's add 2 more pages right here. One will be home. Right here we're going to have home, and let's adjust the URL to be road for home, and second will be about us, and that's going to also have a road, but let's leave it at the moment because the road doesn't exist yet. So I save this, reload the page, and I find a variable categories. C is not necessary. Here we go. So we have home page, we have JavaScript, PHP, Laravel, all the categories what we have. Let me actually quickly change the hover color. BG gray 400. Let's change this into BG like a blue 600, and maybe over text white as well. Okay, much better. So we have now main navigation ready. When we click on the home, that actually works. We have to implement now by category page, and implement also clicking on that on the right side, and activate the activate all categories, actual category which is clicked. That's pretty interesting. Now let's go in the post controller, and we have many actions. We don't need them. I'm going to delete them, all of them actually, and let's create public function by category. Here it will accept category, and then we need to query posts based on that category. Let's open web.php as well and duplicate this, and I'm going to specify category / category by Slug. So we're going to query by category, and the view name will be by category as well. Now let's open this by category, and I'm going to again copy and paste the query, and I'm going to explain what this query is actually doing. So we query posts, but we join the posts into a junction table category post, where the post ID equals to the category post ID. Then we write it where category post category ID is the given category ID. We also make sure that the post needs to be active, and the publish date needs to be in the past, and we order everything by publish date. One small change what I'm going to make in the app layout is that when I join these into like category posts, and I order by total, I don't consider that the post needs to be active and it needs to be published. So this query will also get the posts which are not active or not published. The same thing will happen in the sidebar. Okay, so just to make sure that I'm correct, I will go in the posts, open the one which is not active, and assign, by the way, when I click on the post, I want it to start editing. So I'm going to go in the post resource, and maybe in the post resource, and I'm going to remove this view. I don't need that. List posts, edit posts, view action, remove that, and view action remove. Let's have a look. View post is used somewhere. Get pages. Okay. Now click on this, it opens edit, which is exactly what I want. So now let's assign PHP, for example. Save that. It is not active, pay attention. And if I go and just reload the page, the count does not increase. But it should be increased. Why? For JavaScript, it is actually increased, but not for PHP. Okay. What other, are there any other posts that has PHP there? I think there are no posts that has PHP there. So let's try to get another one. Assign it to PHP category, reload the page. Now there are two items. And pay attention that this is not active, so it should not be 2, it should be 1. So let me actually remove this PHP because it seemed to me like there were no posts in the PHP category, but it still was showing 1. Exactly, so this still is showing 1. However, this obviously shows 1 because it should show 1. That's actually correct. If we go in the sidebar, we select total count of total everything, and that everything includes the category itself. Okay, so this is something which is kind of buggy and we should probably adjust. Okay, I'm going to get back to this. This is not accurate 100%, but as I mentioned, I'm going to get back to this. Okay. So for now, let's actually implement, when we click on the category, it should open the post by category. So if I go in the sidebar and change these and specify route to be by category, and we have to specify category right here, reload the page, and I click on JavaScript, and let's see what happened. Okay, we see an empty page. We go in the post controller, we don't return anything. So we are going to return view. What view should we return? Should we return the same view like home and maybe provide posts like this? Okay, so we only see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We only see 3 items. And again, count is not 100% accurate. We're going to fix that. But I think filtering by category successfully works. So if I click on PHP, we haven't linked this in the header. If I click on PHP, there are no posts. Or click on Laravel, there's actually 1 post. That's good. That's good. However, I don't want posts to be displayed in the header if there are no items there. So if I go in the app layout, change this left join into just join, PHP should disappear. Select category, join on category post. There should not be any record right there. That's strange. Well, I will try now to print an actual query because I have a feeling something is not exactly as I want. So here we have the query, and let's dump and die query. Well, I need query to SQL. Here we go. Select from categories. Okay, let me query everything. I'm going to open now PHP Storm's console, paste that, limit 5. So we select from categories and we join onto category post. Finally, we have group by and order by. So if I execute that, we see PHP. Okay, what is the ID for PHP? So I need to query categories ID as well. That is 5. Now let's open category post and see if there are any posts for category 5. Actually, there is post 4 for category 5, which is actually correct. So it looks like the count works fine. If I edit, there's Laravel. If I edit, there's JavaScript. And it looks like here it is. So we have PHP. If I remove that and save, and now let's open code, app layout, remove this dump and die. And now what happens? I removed PHP. Was it actually removed? Maybe even no, maybe not. I think it is not deleted. That's the main problem. It stays there. Again, if I reload the page, PHP is there. I'm going to remove that and save changes. This is required, and that's why I thought the changes were saved, but it wasn't saved. I'm going to assign it into JavaScript and save. That was now saved. Reload the page. Let's actually remove this, reload, and now PHP disappeared from here. However, it is still available right here, which is something we have to fix. Maybe we even completely remove the categories if there are no articles right there. It doesn't make any sense to have categories if there are no articles right there. So I'm going to go in the sidebar and change this into join as well. We display all categories, but if there are no posts in the category, we don't display it. Perfect. I like that. Now let's go in the app layout and let's adjust the categories right here. So that should be route by dash category, specify category, like this. Okay, click on this, works, click on this, works. So far, so good. Let's implement activating the page which is clicked at the moment, the category on the sidebar on which you have clicked. So if we go in the sidebar, here we go. So let's move this class down, and I'm going to call now request, and I'm going to get the category. And if the category slug equals, that request category will be an instance of the category model. So if that slug is the same as category slug, then we're going to mark this item as like highlighted. So let's give it bg blue 600 and text white. Otherwise, let's give it an empty class. Let's move this down like this. Reload the page, and now Laravel is active. I click on the second one and JavaScript is active. Okay, perfect. So we made that active, and in the same way, we can also activate the home in JavaScript and Laravel and About Us. I will leave this challenge to you. Now, let's implement About Us page. I'm going to open web.php and create a new route that should be above this post slug, because that's a very generic route, and that will handle everything if there are no more specific routes above that. So that should be about-us page. Let's remove it. It's going to be pretty straightforward. Well, we can use the same post controller or create new controller. I don't know which one will be better. Maybe creating a new controller, PHP artisan make controller site controller. Enter. I'm going to use right here site controller like this, and then we're going to have about, and the name will be about dash us probably. So open site controller, create that function about, and we're going to create text widget to output the whole content for about us. So if I go in the text, we just click, and let's give it key about page, and let's upload also an image, some type of image about us, title about us, and there's going to be some lorem ipsum long text. Okay, let me actually copy anything as a large text. Here we go. So it also has this code formatting thing. So I'm going to make this active, and I'm going to just click create. That was created, about page. And I'm going to go in the about action, and we're going to select the widget. So widget equals text widget, query where active equals true, and we're going to query first. Okay, if the widget doesn't exist, if no widget, then there are two options. Either we can throw not found, or we can just assume that everything is empty. But I think not found will be more logical in this case. Throw new not found HTTP exception. Otherwise, we're going to return view about and provide widget. Let's actually specify the return type to be view, eliminate view. And let's go under resources, and we can create new twig file about blade.php. Okay, we need x-app layout, and inside there let's just use the same type of format we have for the post page. So let's get this section, paste it right here. Then for the image, we're gonna use widget image and use /storage/widget image. We don't need the category section. I'm going to remove that. We can use widget title. We don't need that section for the get formatted date, and we need widget content like this, and we don't need these previews and next buttons as well. So I save and reload the page. Let's open about -us. Here we go. Let's remove this width. Okay, it is under container in normal width, and the image is broken. Why is the image broken? Because there are no widget image. Why? Because I don't have any idea. Let's check the text widgets and image. We have that image for about page. Okay, then why it is not visible? Okay, let's print the whole widget. this is widget, and it has attributes, and it has image to be null, because that is about us sidebar. Because we don't specify key, that's the most important thing. We just query the first active one, but we want to specify key because that is essential here. The column key equals about dash page. Save and reload. Let's go under about and remove this. And this is it. The image is huge, so we have to probably specify max W full, something like this. Or maybe just W full. What is that? Well, it shows on a very large width, and why does this happen? If we quickly inspect that, we have this section which has correct width and then the article. So that article probably needs to have W full. That's fine. Okay, if I zoom out, this is how it looks like. So this is a code. Now let's fix this small bug. When we open homepage, right here we get request category, but that request category does not exist, and we try to get Slug from there. That's why we have this error. Let's go in the sidebar blade and find this place request category, and I'm going to add a question mark right here. Okay, so this basically is a relatively new feature. It's going to check if the request category exists. It's going to take then Slug from there. If it doesn't exist, then it will assume that it is null. So if I save that and reload the page, the error basically disappears, but none of the categories are selected. As soon as I click on JavaScript, then the JavaScript is selected. I click on Laravel and Laravel is selected. It's as easy as that. Now, let's start working on the SEO side. Search engine optimization is very, very important thing for any website, especially blog. You want your articles to be discovered by Google. That's why it's good practice to define your tags, H1 tag, meta tags properly, and we'll try right now to do this properly. Every post from our admin panel needs to have some type of meta title and meta description fields. And this is exactly what we're going to do right now. Now let's open PHP Storm and terminal, and let's go inside the container, vendor, bin, sale, bash, and I'm going to define a new migration file and add two fields, meta title and meta description. PHP artisan make migration add meta fields to posts table. I made a few typos. To post table and hit the enter. Okay, let's open now, add meta fields to post table, and right here, table string, let's call this meta title, and the length of the field should be like the recommended size for meta title is about 60 characters. Let's just define it to 155 because this is varchar and it doesn't hurt. So, and these must be nullable because if user doesn't want to define meta title right there, we shouldn't force it. And let's duplicate this, and I'm going to define now meta description. Okay, so we have those two fields. Those are two of the most important fields. Like previously, meta keywords were also important, but recently, basically search engines updated their strategy, how they are searching, and meta keywords are not that important. So we can just get that, and I'm going to paste in the down and just change the string into drop column, and let's just remove this nullable from there as well, and I think this length is not necessary. So we have those two columns. Now let's open terminal and execute PHP artisan migrate. hit the enter. Okay, the fields were added. Now let's open post.php modal. Let's scroll up, find the fillable, and let's add right here meta title and meta description. Perfect. So we have modal ready. Now let's open post resource. Scroll up in the form section. So here is our form. We have title and slug. Yes, title and slug and body and active. Well, before active, I'm going to duplicate this body, and this should be text input. Oops. Text input from Filament components like this, and that should be meta title. And let's remove required from here, and let's duplicate this, and this should be meta description. So, and let's make this text. Well, it should be text input as well, not text area. So I'm going to save this and reload. Scroll down below. We have meta title. Okay, let's type right there my meta title and my meta description, because we're going to just test the functionality. It should not be like it cannot be actual data. So let's save this. Like the proper wording would be it might not be. It is not mandatory to be the proper data, so just dummy data will work. Okay, I'm going to reload the page, and actually we should go to that specific post. Let's copy slug, and in the URL, let's just paste this, hit the enter. So this is the post, okay? But we actually have not implemented anything. We don't output these meta titles right here, so we should do that. But we also want meta titles to be outputted on the home page, for example, and on the About Us page, which are not at the moment are not posts, and they are not even pages. And by the way, this About Us page is not linked properly, so let's just quickly open app.blade and find this About Us. Here we go, and let's change this into root about. No, it's probably About Us. Here we go. I click this and it goes right there. So we need meta title and meta description right here as well, and on home, and basically on categories page as well. So we need this everywhere. So I'm going to do in the following way. In the app blade, I will assume that this component will always receive meta title and meta description. So instead of having a hard-coded text right here, I'm going to change this, and I'm going to try to output meta title right there, okay? And if that does not exist, or if this is empty, let's assume that we will always pass that meta title, okay? And if this is empty, then we can just output the Codeholic blog, or you can type your own blog name. So let's just define the author as well, the Codeholic, and meta description we're going to output right here in the same way, meta description. And if that doesn't exist, we can just leave this empty. Okay, so now we are using always meta title and meta description in the layout, but we need to pass those variables to the layout, right? So let's open app layout component, and in the constructor, let's take those two variables. Public string meta title is an empty string or null, and public string, and let's put a question mark right here, and public string meta description is also null. Okay, so here we have two variables. Why is this highlighted? Default value question mark. Question mark is necessary right here. Okay, so we have those two variables, meta title and meta description, and because we define them with a public key, those are class properties, and they are available in the layout. So if I just save this and reload the page, we don't see anything, nothing is passed right there. But if I accept right here, for example, test, save and reload, and now look at this, by the way. So title is outputted right here. Okay, and if we click view page source, we see title right here. And by the way, there also exists meta title, but again, and we can type like meta title right here, but the latest version of search engines look for the title tag. So meta title is less important, title is key. So that's the most important thing. So we're gonna just put the meta title right here. Okay, perfect. So we have implemented passing the data. Now, how we're gonna actually pass the correct data to the app layout. Let's start from the home. I'm going to open home blade PHP, and we are using this app layout right here. So now this layout, which is a component, it accepts meta title and meta description. So I'm going to pass meta-title to be something like the Codeholic blog, or we can just leave this empty, and because in the app blade we are taking the Codeholic blog, we can just leave this empty. Okay, I'm not going to pass this meta title, but instead I'm going to pass meta description, and that should probably be the Codeholic's personal blog about coding tutorials. Okay, so I save this, reload the page, and look at this, the Codeholic's personal blog about coding tutorials. And right here we see the Codeholic blog. And that is passed, by the way, everywhere. Okay, we're right now on the category page, which should not be passed, but it is still passed. We're going to fix that. But the main thing is that if we go on the home page, we see that the Codeholic's personal blog about coding, and this is the title. Okay, so far so good. Now, we have implemented the home page. Now let's go on the post page, post.view. So in the post view, we accept post. So we can take post meta title and post meta description and pass them. Meta title corresponds to post meta title. But if post meta title does not exist, then let's take post title. Okay, save, click on this, now click view page source, and this is the title. Why JavaScript is weird. Okay, so this is our title. We can also like prefix or suffix the blog, the actual application name, like the Codeholic blog. We can prefix that or suffix that. You can do this as you want. Like I'm going to leave this right now as it is. Why JavaScript is weird. And we can also specify meta dash description is post meta description. So I save that, I reload, nothing's passed right here. And why? Let's check this. Meta and description, I think I have passed everything correctly. If I go in the admin panel, reload, okay, it was not saved. Yeah, it was not saved. Like my meta title in my meta description, save changes, that was saved, reload the page, that was lost. Why was that lost? Let's check post PHP. This is why it was lost, because I have 2T right here. Save that. Okay, perfect. I reload the page, my meta title and my meta description. I'm going to click save, reload the page. That was actually saved. And now if I reload the why JavaScript is weird and reload the page, we see my meta title and my meta description, which come from here. Okay, so if I just delete my meta title and hit the enter, that was saved, reload the page, now it's going to take the title, actual post title from here. Okay, it's a fallback and it's good logic in my opinion. So now we have implemented passing meta titles and meta descriptions for the home page as well as for the post view page. Okay, what other routes do we have? Let's open web.php and have a look. So we have about us page and we have by category page. Let's go on the about page right here, which renders about.blade. So let's open about blade PHP, and in the same way we're going to pass like meta title, and let's just type the Codeholic blog, or maybe about the Codeholic, or something like this, like the Codeholic's blog or something like this. Okay, dash about us page, that should be probably. And of course, we can specify meta and description. You get the idea. I'm just going to type lorem ipsum. Okay, I saved it. By the way, if you pass this with a colon, you need to put this inside quotations, okay? Because it expects like a variable at this moment. But if you remove this colon, we can just remove these quotations as well. Save that, and let's go on about -us page. And here we see the Codeholics blog and lorem ipsum. Perfect. So we have implemented about us as well. And the last thing is to implement the page by category. Let's go in the post controller by category, and that renders home. But you know what? Rendering the same view for by category as we have rendered for the home is not actually a good idea. So maybe we need to go in the home, and I'm going to copy this home and paste inside the post folder, and I'm going to call this index, maybe. Okay, and in the index, we know that let's go in the post by category and let's pass the category, okay, from here. So we pass the category, we render post.index right here, and now if we open that index, we know that we have right here category. So maybe we can specify inside meta title to be like category title maybe, and meta description can be whatever you want, like by category description or something like this. So I save this now and click on the JavaScript which renders post by category, view page source, and we see JavaScript, which is actually the title now for the category, right? So the ideal title probably will be the Codeholic blog dash, or maybe not dash, let's leave it dash, posts by category, and then the actual category. So I save and reload the Codeholic blog post by category JavaScript. Okay, that's very, very logical title for that page. And I guess it's not more than 60 characters as well. So in the description, you can type something like this as well. And I think we are good. So now we have titles for every page, like on the home page, view page source, we have implemented those. We have implemented meta titles for the by category page, about us page. Let's check this once again. And I think that's perfect. And whenever you create a new post from the admin panel, if you define meta title and meta description, then you basically tell search engine that, hey, this is the overall information about my post, and then it helps basically search engine. Of course, only meta title and meta description are not 100% enough to optimize your blog post or whatever website or any pages. You can optionally add other titles like OG open graph titles for sharing your posts on Facebook or on social media, and I really recommend to do that and implement those fields as well. Now let's do some final touches on the website. Let me first change the background color of the body. At the moment it is white, and we also have white cards on that, so I'm going to change this into gray -50, and let's remove this white. I'm going to save and reload, and now that's much better. Now if you scroll down below and zoom out slightly, we see that the cards have actually background transparent. So let's go in the post item, find that article and give it class PG white. Save that and reload, and now this one has a white background. If we scroll at the very top and click this logo, it doesn't do anything. So I'm going to go in the categories section, click right here. It doesn't do anything. So this should go to the home page. So let's go in the up blade and find this, the Codeholic blog, and let's change this href into root home. Save, refresh the page, and click right here. It goes to the home. On the right side, we have this About Us section, but whenever I click on this button, it doesn't do anything. We need to link this to the About Us page. So let's go in the sidebar, find this button, and we're going to change this into wrote about-us. Save, reload the page, and click on this, and we are on About Us page. Okay, let's scroll down below. Let's go in the JavaScript section. When there are multiple categories on the post, they are not on a single line. They are each on its own line. And we're going to change that. I don't like this. So let's go in the post item. And right here, we iterate over our categories. So I'm going to create new div, give it, that should be div, give it class of flex, and let's give it also gap of 3, for example, or maybe even 4. And the closing tag goes right here. We save the code. And now let's reload the page. And here we see now they are all categories on its own line and on the same line. And if I click on this article right here, we have the same thing. And now if I click on this article and go inside, right here, there's the same problem. So we're going to open view.play.php, find that category is rendering, and basically I'm going to use the same class, same div as a wrapper of this for each right here. Format the code and reload the page, and voila. On this article, I added code which are under pre-tags, but they don't look like a code actually. So let's add small CSS to identify that this is a code block of code. So in the up blade in the layout, just like we have the font family Carla, I'm going to create a small CSS. I'm not doing this in a separate CSS file because it's very small and very minimalistic. Like on pre, we're going to have padding to be 1 rem. Let's give it a background color to be like a gray or black. Let's give it color to be white, and let's give it border radius to be 0.5 rem. And let's save this and have a look. Reload the page, and this is it. I think this is exactly what I wanted. So, and let's give this also margin bottom like 1 rem. Like this. Save, reload, and this is exactly what I wanted. That's it guys in this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see how I built a full stack application with React and Laravel, click right here. If you prefer Vue.js, you should check the following video. Otherwise, I will see you in the next time.